Here's Mitchell. I think that's a 2. Doesn't go. And now it's Pride getting full. Yeah, that one might be a problem. Indiana just taking shots to the face.
The Indiana Fever hit Minnesota looking like a team running on fumes. 5 key players already down, rotations in chaos, and every possession feeling like survival. Caitlin Clark still sidelined with that lingering groin injury. Sophie Cunningham out for the season. Chloe BBY, Sydney Carlson, and Ari McDonald also unavailable. Odyssey Sims even played on one good leg because the roster was that thin. And then came the breaking point. Lexie Hull takes a nasty elbow from Kayla McBride, drops to the floor holding her face, and somehow the foul gets pinned on Hull. The arena boiled, fans stunned, and you can imagine Caitlin Clark at home, seething. How do the refs keep missing calls this blatant? Fever fans, what do you think? Are the officials blind?
And Hull is checking her jaw. See that one again. Kayla McBride goes up, grabs the board, and she wants to get free because Hull has her kind of wrapped, and boy, that's a hard swing. We're going to review it.
Context matters, so let's start there. Indiana didn't just limp into Minnesota, they showed up stripped bare. Caitlin Clark has been out for weeks. Sophie Cunningham's year ended early. Chloe BBY's knee kept her sidelined. Sydney Carlson lost to an ACL tear. Ari McDonald shut down with a foot issue. That's an entire starting unit wiped out before the game even began. Odyssey Sims? A hardship signing, the emergency of emergencies, dragged straight from recovery into the fire because there were 0 other options. This isn't some quirky lineup shuffle. It's survival mode. And survival carries a steep price. Every drive demands extra gas. Every defensive switch is half a beat slow. Every misstep feels colossal when the playoff chase is being fought with a roster held together by tape and sheer willpower.
The Indiana Fever's injury bug is getting into spooky territory. It seems like there's a new player every single day that's getting injured. Right now they have Caitlin Clark out, not sure if she will be returning this season. Sid Colson out with a season-ending ACL tear. Ari McDonald out with a season-ending fracture in her foot. Sophie Cunningham out with a season-ending MCL tear. And then just today, before the game, they announced that Chloe Bibby would be out with a knee injury, and basically they just said it's soreness and they're just playing it safe.
Injuries don't just erase talent, they unravel the framework holding a team together. Overnight, the Fever's guard and wing depth disappeared, forcing Lexie Hull and Kelsey Mitchell to shift from scorers and defenders into all-purpose engines. Just 2 nights earlier, also against Minnesota, Hull logged a career-high 37 minutes and dropped 23 points, not as a spark off the bench, but because there was no relief, no sub waiting at the scorer's table. She carried the load simply because someone had to. And then she was right back in the fire. This isn't normal basketball. It's buying survival minutes against fatigue.
Like, did you come into tonight kind of expecting to play darn near the whole game just with the injury situation and the personnel available?
Damn, you played 37 minutes.
I mean, you played a lot too, Kel. What did you play? 35. I mean, yeah, we're down people, so gotta suck it up, play a little tired a few minutes, and take in those timeouts as best we can. But yeah, I mean, we're down people, so everyone's got to do a little more.
The patchwork fixes say everything. Shaw Petty was signed midweek and immediately thrown into rotation minutes. Odyssey Sims, still far from full strength, was forced to run possessions anyway. Ariel Powers, another late pickup, was pushed into heavy minutes without time to build chemistry or rhythm. That's not plug-and-play basketball, it's grit held together with duct tape. You can't establish flow when introductions are happening in the huddle and teammates are still figuring out each other's instincts. Meanwhile, opponents like the Lynx don't need name tags. They spot the gaps instantly and press every weakness until it breaks.
We've had 3 players in the last I don't know how many days, and 2 of those players are point guards, so not really. But you know, at the same time, our ability to make plays out of what we have, right? I think a lot of our spacing allows players to do what they do best, creates opportunities for them to be successful, and then it's just making the right reads and finding the right pass on time, on target. And some of that is with experience with your teammates, and some of that is instinct. And so we are trying to do as much as we can to put players in position to use those instincts.
Credit where it's due, Kelsey Mitchell never flinched. She sliced through traps, carved out space, and piled up 26 points with the kind of tough shot making that says, asterisk, if it takes carrying us, I'll do it. Asterisk, but the math of a depleted roster is unforgiving. When the lineup is patched together out of necessity, even brilliance has a ceiling. Head coach Stephanie White labeled it physical. That's polite. This was trench warfare fought with a skeleton crew, and still, Indiana kept swinging, refusing to fold even as the odds stacked heavier with every possession.
At this rate, the Fever are going to end the season with a completely different team than what they started the season with. And even the players that they're bringing in on hardship or that they're signing midway through the season, they're now going down with injuries. The season from hell would be an understatement on this team right now.
And that's why the officiating fiasco felt like gasoline on an open flame. Here's the sequence. Hull is locked in, defending with her trademark discipline. McBride swings through, and her elbow lands squarely across Lexie's face. Head contact. Defender drops. The crowd reacts. By any standard, it's a stoppage, a review, accountability. Instead, the whistle goes against Hull. The one who absorbed the elbow somehow became the one penalized for it. The Fever bench froze in disbelief. Lexie didn't argue, she burned. Jaw clenched, eyes sharpened, that icy glare that says, enough. It was the kind of moment that turns frustration into fury.
Gonna look at it. So foul there on Indiana, on Hull there, but then that is a technical.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one game because...
Oh, and I don't like the way Lexie Hull...
The review came, but it only half fixed the mess. Officials adjusted the call just enough to admit something went wrong, yet stopped short of holding McBride accountable. It was a hedge, an acknowledgement without consequence. Hull clearly took contact to the face. She went down hard, needed time to recover, and Indiana still shouldered the penalty. The math didn't check out, pain without protection, punishment without justice. That's not a gray area. That's a turning point, plain and simple, the moment the floor tilted and the Fever's uphill climb steepened into something close to impossible.
Every time a game happens in the WNBA, somebody's getting abused, somebody getting beaten, somebody is getting hurt, man. Somebody is getting hurt every game in the WNBA, and they just fail to realize it, fail to have any protocol on stopping the nonsense, man. My God.
Fans flooded social media because the script felt painfully familiar. What should be isolated mistakes now read like a pattern, calls bending the same direction every time. When a Fever player hits the hardwood, takes the shove, the shoulder, the forearm, somehow the whistle still punishes Indiana. That perception is poison. It creates the sense that this team is fair game, that opponents can get physical without consequence. And with half the roster already in street clothes, letting contact slide isn't just about losing possessions, it risks piling injury on top of injury, a cost the Fever can't afford.
Boom! Right there. Oh my goodness. Boom! Right in the face, man. Right in the face. Now, like I stated, I get it. You might be mad that Lexie put her hand on your forehead. But fam, there is no reason for you to be throwing elbows to somebody's face like that. Come on, man.
Minnesota leaned hard into physical play, and that's no crime. Physicality wins in the postseason. But that's why officiating exists, the guardrail between tough and reckless. On this night, the guardrail felt optional. Fever guards ate contact with no whistle, while lighter bumps at the other end drew fouls. Stephanie White carefully suggested the game was called differently. She didn't have to say more. The film speaks for itself. When the standard shifts with jersey color, fans don't debate nuance, they see favoritism. And Kayla McBride's elbow became the symbol of it.
Kayla McBride, 13 points for Kayla McBride. Hit Lexie Hull with an elbow. Foul on Lexie Hull. Hit Lexie Hull with an elbow, foul on Lexie's Hull.
For Lexie Hull, already logging career-high minutes under career-high pressure, that elbow was more than contact, it was dismissal. She's carved her role through precision defense, sharp cuts, and steady shooting, thriving on the small, gritty details. To eat an elbow, get tagged with the foul, and then watch replay officials wave off the obvious? That's the kind of injustice that hardens an edge. From the bench, her fury was written across her face. Absorb the hits, get told to tough it out, and watch refs manage the game while you manage the bruises. For Indiana, patience is gone. This felt deliberate.
This was intentional. Now, if it wasn't intentional, okay, give it a flagrant one. I understand it. She wasn't trying to do it. Cool. But this was intentional. All right? She had malice on the heart with this one. Bad intentions. Okay? She was trying to wreck some stuff up there doing this one. Hey, let's just keep it a grand, man. Let's just keep it a grand. Kayla McBride was trying to knock Lexie right on her booty cheeks, but she succeeded at, fam. Knocked her clean out. Look at this.
And Lexie Hull isn't biting her tongue. After the game, she went straight at the issue, officiating and league accountability. We put our bodies on the line every single night, she said, and the least the league can do is ensure protection when referees ignore obvious contact. That's why frustration inside Indiana is boiling over. The Fever aren't begging for favors, they're demanding fairness. Blow the whistle on elbows, no matter who throws them. Guard driving lanes the same way, regardless of the jersey. Don't penalize effort for one team while rewarding aggression for the other. That double standard breaks trust, and with half the roster already taped together, it risks turning basketball into a demolition derby. If the WNBA wants its product respected, the responsibility starts with safeguarding its players, because without them, there is no game.
Knocked her clean out, man. Oh my goodness. I mean, folded. Look at how her legs are folded right here. Come on, man. Knocking her clean out right here. That was bad intentions, dog. That was bad intentions. I don't care what anybody say, man. That was bad intentions, man. And the refs have to do something about it. You have to make sure that players don't feel comfortable getting out of pocket and doing things like this.
Most teams missing half their rotation would crumble, but Indiana refused to bow. There was no surrender, just grit layered with defiance. Kelsey Mitchell carried the torch again, pouring in 26 points and answering every Minnesota surge with buckets of her own. For 3 quarters, she was the heartbeat, driving into traffic, finishing through bumps, and somehow staying upright even when the whistle stayed silent. Without her relentless pace and shot-making, Indiana wouldn't have lasted past the first half. Mitchell's edge didn't just keep the Fever within reach, it set a standard. If she was going to fight tooth and nail, then everyone else had to match that energy, no matter the circumstances.
Indiana started this game 9 of 13, but has missed 4 straight until she...
Then came the jolt nobody saw coming, Shaw Petty. Fresh off a hardship signing and barely unpacked, she erupted for 16 points off the bench. That wasn't just eating minutes, it was a lifeline. Dropped into chaos with no chemistry, no rhythm, no time to adjust, and still producing like she'd been part of the core all season, Indiana couldn't have scripted it better. Her impact went beyond the box score. It was proof that even stopgap players were ready to strap in and fight when the Fever had their backs to the wall.
Reacted. It looked like it was a lot more violent than that. It's still gotta hurt though. The pass from Williams. Oh, Collier is blocked.
Aaliyah Boston once again held her ground as Indiana's anchor. Night after night, she absorbs double teams, shoves, and body blows, yet she never cedes control of the paint. Against Minnesota, her rebounding was relentless, manufacturing second-chance looks for an offense patched together by necessity. Even without big scoring numbers, her steady presence was the counterweight to all the chaos, a reminder that no matter how thin the rotation, the Fever still have one of the league's toughest bigs holding the line. Then there was Lexie Hull. Fans were still buzzing about her gutsy 23-point breakout 2 nights earlier, where she gutted out 37 minutes simply because no one else could. That performance announced she was ready to shoulder whatever this injury-riddled roster demanded. But against the Lynx, after taking Kayla McBride's elbow square to the face, and then somehow being called for the foul, Hull's frustration finally spilled over. It wasn't just about one whistle. It was about weeks of being stretched past the limit, playing through exhaustion, and then being punished for competing with fire. That anger pulsed through the Fever fanbase. If the players are already being driven into the ground, how could officials tilt the floor against them too?
Dribble. Carrington got a piece of it. Powers gets it back. Second attempt. Up and in. And she's fouled. The basket. And then she's just fighting and battling for her shot.
Add in Ariel Powers, another late-season pickup forced into rotation duty after Sophie Cunningham's injury, and the picture sharpens. Every Fever player is stretched beyond her natural role. This isn't ideal basketball, it's survival basketball. Yet somehow, Indiana refuses to fold. They've stayed afloat in the playoff race by leaning on unlikely sparks, patched-up lineups, and sheer toughness. That's why fans keep circling one thought: what happens when Caitlin Clark returns? If this makeshift roster, filled with emergency signings and walking wounded, can still scrap with playoff contenders, then a healthy backcourt rewrites the script. Right now, Indiana is clinging to the 8th seed, their postseason life hanging by a thread. Every night feels like win-or-go-home intensity, but everyone knows the real game-changer waiting in the wings: Caitlin Clark. And there she was in Minnesota, not cleared to suit up yet, but finally back in practice gear, moving alongside her teammates. That simple image sent a jolt through the entire franchise. After weeks of standing on the sidelines, watching the chaos unfold, seeing her back on the floor, even in limited reps, felt like hope breaking through. For a roster battered by injuries and fatigue, her presence was a reminder that reinforcements are coming, and momentum can still shift.
Team needs Caitlin Clark to come back in the worst way. Not only if they want to save this, if they want to even play in mid to late September. This isn't a playoff team, what we're watching right now. This isn't a playoff team. This is a Kelsey Mitchell, please save us team. Kelsey Mitchell, we need 40 and 10. 40 points, 10 assists from you every night to be in the playoffs. We need a Herculean effort in the second half. We need Lexie Hull catching fire late in the fourth quarter and in overtime for this team to continue to stay.
But the clock is ticking. The Fever sit at 19-18, holding a fragile one-game edge over the Sparks with only 7 left to play. Seattle, Golden State, Chicago, Los Angeles, none of them are gimmies. One cold week could crush the playoff push before Clark even returns. The margin is razor thin, the math unforgiving. Indiana doesn't have the luxury of patience anymore. Every possession, every whistle, every quarter now carries the weight of their entire season.
We got our best indication yet that Caitlin Clark is on her way back toward a return for the Indiana Fever. That's because she was seen participating in shoot-around before the Minnesota Lynx game. Now, that doesn't mean she's playing. She's still out for that game, and she hasn't returned to full practice yet, but she is back on the court with her teammates. It's coming on the heels of Stephanie White saying she hopes that Clark would return to the lineup before the regular season is out, and that when you see her participating in practice, you will know she's on the way back.
The gap without Clark is impossible to miss. Mitchell can catch fire. Boston can hold her ground in the paint. But the offense without Clark? It sputters. Possessions break down, spacing collapses, and it feels like Indiana is grinding through mud. The hardship signings bring spark and hustle, but hustle isn't orchestration. Clark brings order. She stretches defenses, opens clean looks for Hull, makes Boston's interior battles winnable, and turns chaos into rhythm. That's why her return isn't just about adding talent, it's the difference between scraping by and actually threatening people. Fans know it. That's why every warm-up clip, every dribble in practice, every glance of her moving with teammates is treated like forensic evidence. Social media dissects it frame by frame, equal parts anxious and hopeful. The buzz builds louder every day. Because the reality is simple, without her, that 8th seed could evaporate in a week. With her back, the Fever instantly morph into a playoff wild card nobody wants to draw in a one-game elimination.
So you see Caitlin Clark, this video captured by Chloe Peterson at Shoot Around. You can see Caitlin doing some work right there, just, warm-up work, back and forth on the court, but nonetheless on a basketball court. It's been a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark on a basketball court, certainly a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark play basketball. Then there was a little bit more footage here, and you see Caitlin involved on the floor yet again, even handling the ball, working with her teammates. I mean, that's an important sign there, to see her working with her teammates.
And Clark's return isn't just about the box score. It's bigger than points or assists, she lifts the entire roster. Her gravity reshapes defenses, turns Hull's cuts into daggers, and makes Boston's positioning inside nearly unstoppable. That kind of impact can't be patched in with hardship signings. Only Clark provides it, which is why her comeback feels less like one player returning and more like a turning point for the entire league. But right now, Indiana is juggling two battles, injuries and officiating. The physical toll has dragged them to the edge, and the whistles, or lack thereof, have cut just as deep. You can see the frustration etched on their faces after every missed call. You can hear it in the anger from fans online. And nowhere was it more obvious than in Hull's fury after taking an elbow to the face, only to be whistled herself. So the looming question is this. When Clark steps back on the floor, will her brilliance be enough to overcome both the injury grind and officiating that feels slanted? The Fever's resilience is undeniable. But resilience alone doesn't secure playoff spots, it needs support. One thing is certain, if this team claws its way into the postseason, it won't just be a run, it'll go down as one of the toughest, grittiest pushes in WNBA history. Why do you think the refs keep turning a blind eye to Indiana? Drop your take in the comments. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.